everyone, welcome back or welcome to Astrology with Georgie. In this video we're going to be discussing the upcoming dreaded Mercury retrograde in the sign of Leo. If you are new here, hi, welcome to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future content from me. I'm here always doing new and full moons, and then any extra videos like this that I can squeeze in I will always try and provide for you guys. I am a Western astrologer, so we are using the tropical zodiac, and I do work with whole sign houses, but if you're a Placidus user, you can just take a look and see where the degrees of Leo are in your chart. You may have to listen for more than one rising sign, but we're going to talk a little bit about the energy of Mercury retrograde in the sign of Leo, and then we're going to run through the signs. Now, I do personal readings as well, guys. If you would like your chart read, I do a variety of readings for a variety of budgets, so you can take a look at my website, which is linked. So, Mercury retrograde, okay. This happens about 3 or 4 times a year. This year it's happening at three times. This is the second Mercury retrograde of this year. Now, of course, Mercury retrograde is becoming very kind of popular in pop culture. You know, it's kind of, there's a lot of memes that go around about Mercury in the microwave and all this kind of stuff, and there's kind of a lot of fear mongering around Mercury retrograde. Yes, Mercury retrograde can be a bit irritating, but it's really not, like, it's not that deep, guys. It's not that deep. So I'm here to hopefully provide you with a little bit of insight around how this can show up, but mainly what is the actual astrological spiritual purpose of the Mercury retrograde. What is the point of it, and how can you actually use this retrograde to benefit? So Mercury retrogrades in cycles, okay? So at the moment we are in a fire sign cycle. So Mercury, you may or may not have noticed, has been retrograding since about 2023 now in fire signs. So earlier on this year we had Mercury retrograde in Aries. Obviously we've now got it retrograde in Leo. At the end of the year it will be retrograding in Sagittarius. So it's in the fire signs. Now this is important because not only have we got to think about the element of fire and what this could mean. So Mercury obviously rules our mind, our intellect. It's where we're rethinking, it's where we're having to redo something. Fire sign energy is about our creativity. It's about leadership, how we're asserting ourselves. It's our drive and our motivation, and really like our creative, fiery spirit. What we're creating shows up a lot with fire signs. So just kind of general overview, Mercury retrograding in the fire signs for this kind of 18-month period is really kind of a cycle of us reviewing where we're putting our creative energy, where we're putting our leadership energy, how we are showing up in the world, what we are asserting ourselves to. And when Mercury goes through these retrograde cycles through fire signs, it's really calling us to rethink or rework something about our creativity, our skills, our drive and our action. There's a reworking here around fire energy. But more importantly, and more personally, this will be happening in your chart in the houses that you have the fire signs on. So just kind of collectively over an 18-month period. So for example, if you are a Cancer rising like I am, I have the fire signs on the earth houses, okay? So the second house, the 6th house, and the 10th house. These are the houses associated with resources, with career, with work, what I'm building. So for me, it's about rethinking, and for anyone else that is a water sign rising, you'll have the same thing. It's about rethinking themes to do with career, work, your resources, and how you are creating through those things, what you're creating, and is your creativity aligned with your goals, with your values, with what it is that you're trying to build. Okay, that's an example. If you're an air sign rising, then this energy will be happening in your houses associated with so kind of your thinking, your social houses. So for example, if you're a Gemini rising, this would be happening in your 3rd house. And then the other fire sign would be on your 7th house, which is relationships. So it's very social. If you're an air sign rising, it's very social, where the fire retrogrades are happening. Does that make sense? I hope I haven't confused anyone by trying to give that as an example. But we will run through the signs, so don't worry. I'm just trying to explain that. Just kind of take note at where you have the fire signs and how have things changed since around 2023. This year it's going to continue, the Mercury retrogrades are going to continue in fire, and then next year it's going to move back into water. Then we'll have around 18 months of water, Mercury retrograding in water signs. So wherever you have water signs on in your chart, which houses, this will then start to colour a theme, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. This particular Mercury retrograde is happening in the sign of Leo, and it's taking place in 2 days from now. So I'm recording this on the 15th. It's actually stationing on Thursday, the 17th. Can you see that little S there? That means it's stationing. If we move this chart along one day, stationing, and then so it's still stationing on the 18th, and then by the 19th is actually then starting to move backwards. So when it says stationing, what it means is it hasn't, but it appears to have stopped in the sky. So it's moving so slow that it appears to have stopped before it then appears to move backwards, even though it doesn't. But you know, it's an optical illusion. But the station is where it stops to go back or it stops to go forward, and then the actual retrograde is when it is appearing to move back. So Leo is all about leadership. It is the sign associated with how we shine. It's the sign associated with our ego, our passion, our drive. It's the sign connected to our heart and our lovers, our love, children, what we're creating, what we're building, how we have fun, and our inner child. Our inner child is a huge part of this. So when Mercury, which rules our mind, our intellect, our thoughts, how we process information, how we do things, what we're asserting our mind into, how we're thinking, how we're communicating, we're rethinking things to do with our creativity, with our leadership, how we want to show up, how we want to create, how we want to have fun. How do we go out and have fun? How do we connect to our inner child? And themes around this can come up. Themes to do with children can come up, your own children or topics of children in some way. If it's not actual children, then it could be your inner child and how you are connecting to that and how you are having fun. Themes to do with lovers and love, like I said. So relationships can be quite key with Mercury retrograde in Leo. Now, communication is obviously a big one because Mercury rules communication. Every time Mercury goes retrograde, doesn't matter what sign it's in, there can be issues with communication. It can be issues with saying how you feel. It can be issues with miscommunication. But because Leo rules our ego and our pride, I feel like Mercury retrograding in Leo is going to be more about us not wanting to say how we really feel and maybe having to address that, not being able to say how we really feel because our ego is getting in the way. And so collectively we may feel like we're coming up against things where we're realizing, oh, actually my ego is getting in the way here. I need to really say how I feel and get my pride out of the way. And you just might see themes to do with pride coming up. Leo can, on the downside, Leo energy can be a bit arrogant. So during the Mercury retrograde, there can be, you know, again, it's connected to communication. How are you communicating? Making sure you're not being arrogant through your communication. Not getting that, again, it's going back to not letting that pride get in the way. And having those connections, whether it be with your partner or with other people. Just difficulties with communication can come up with Mercury retrograde because you are actually being asked to rethink how you're speaking to other people. And that's the whole point of having these communication discrepancies or communication problems where people aren't quite understanding what you're saying. It's the whole point of it is that you are being asked to reevaluate, okay, well, is this an effective way to communicate? Am I letting my pride get in the way? And how can I reword this, or how can I kind of get that pride out of the way and really think about being mature and speaking in a mature manner. Leo can be quite immature. So during the Mercury retrograde in Leo, we may find ourselves being a bit immature with our communication. So that's just something to kind of watch out for. Now, because Leo rules our hobbies, things that we do for fun. Mercury retrograding here can mean that when we're doing things for fun or when we're doing hobbies, there can be some issues. So for example, if you are going to maybe a brush and sip class, that would be a very creative thing to do. Perhaps the class gets cancelled, or perhaps you thought you booked on and you hadn't booked on. So you might see more themes to do with kind of booking mishaps around your hobbies or around things that you're doing for fun. Now, Mercury does rule all technology. So when you're booking things, when you're going to the post office, when you're texting, writing emails, all of these things, we can see, things not working. The laptop's not working, the email's not working, the phone's not working, the pay and display machine's not working. Anything to do with technology, especially around the stationing. So in a couple of days' time, around that date, frustration. Buses have been cancelled, trains are cancelled, all of that stuff, planes, anything to do with technology, things come up. But it just might be that you see more of these things when it's connected to you going and doing something for fun, because of the Leo piece. Now, a good way to work with this energy is that because the retrograde is encouraging us to redo, rethink, reimagine, realign ourselves, reassess, anything that you can put the word re in front of, that's what the retrograde is about. So a good way to use this energy is to go back to things from the past. So go back to projects that you've already started and tweak them. So if you have your own business, if you have your own creative projects, or even if you don't, if you're at work and you're doing projects, go back to projects that you've done before, tweak them, rework them. You may find that you're having to redo stuff anyway, just naturally you're having to do stuff. Contact clients from the past. Contact friends from the past. And you may find naturally that you're bumping into people from your past during the retrograde. Again, topics to do with children, so it could be that you bump into an old school friend, or you bump into children that you used to babysit for, that kind of stuff can come up. Topics to do with children may be relevant for some of you, not for all of you. Doing our inner child work. So especially if you've done anything like this before, going back into it. How can you connect it to things that you used to do as a child to really kind of get playful? Did you used to go horse riding? Did you used to do paint by numbers? During the retrograde, this is a really beautiful way to tap into that energy and go back to doing something to get involved with your creativity, especially if it's something that you once did and you don't do anymore. So we are reevaluating, we are reassessing, but we're also going back to things from the past. We're clearing things up. Conversations can be cleared up, or you're going back to sort something out during retrograde times. Now, a lot of people will say, don't start anything new, don't start anything new. Fun fact, I actually started this YouTube channel during a Mercury retrograde, and it wasn't planned. It was just that I happened to have a couple of weeks off my other job at the time, and it was just a perfect time to start the YouTube channel. So nothing bad has happened. Nothing bad has happened, guys. So if you still live your life, and my advice would be still live your life. Now, I will say that if you do start something brand new during a retrograde, the chances are that you will be having to tweak it and redo stuff. Maybe you'll change the name, all of this stuff. You're going to be changing stuff to something that you start during Mercury retrograde, because in theory you're not thinking straight when Mercury is retrograding. So you may change your mind when Mercury goes direct again. That's the idea behind it. It's just that you're not thinking straight. Now, if you were born during a Mercury retrograde like I was, this energy can actually be quite familiar. So perhaps that's why I launched this when Mercury is retrograding. The energy can be quite familiar. And so if you're listening to this during a Mercury retrograde, you actually might find that you're more productive because you're used to this retrograde energy. You may find that you have light bulb moments, you have ideas come to you, and you can get things done because it's kind of like coming home to yourself. So just kind of take note, and do let me know in the comments if you were born during a Mercury retrograde. A lot of you are, because Mercury retrograde is 3 times a year. And you tend to do things a bit differently anyway. So you have to learn differently to other people, and you have to do things a little bit differently. But yeah, just be aware that if you're doing, like, it's a good time to plan during a Mercury retrograde because we're reevaluating. But if you can wait until after the retrograde is over, if you're planning something and if you can wait, then do. If you can't wait and you're having to launch this thing or do this thing, then do it, but just do it with caution and do it knowing that actually you may need to tweak some things in the future. Obviously, Mercury rules contracts and, signatures and anything to do with that. So if you're having to book anything, sign anything, just make sure that you have read everything properly. Because again, it's the element of not seeing things clearly, not thinking clearly, missing information. So just make sure that you are looking through the details properly if you're having to do any of those things. Again, I'm not going to tell you, oh, don't ever sign something, don't ever buy something, don't ever do this. Just be careful when you're doing it and double check the information. So like, for example, if you're having to book a holiday during this time, make sure that you've double checked that you've got all the details of things correctly. Take longer to do the things. Now, we've spoken about what Mercury rules. We've spoken about kind of what Leo is associated with. The whole point of a retrograde is that we are going within. It's a time of introspection, a time of reflection, a time of, okay, what are my values? What do I want? What's important to me? How do I think about this? How am I communicating? It's this internal process of reevaluating something. And so we can feel a little bit slowed down in a certain area. This is where it depends where it falls in your chart. The house that it falls in, you may have to redo something. I'll give you an example. Last year, Mercury, when it was in Sagittarius, retrograding in my 6th house, I had to go to the doctors for something, I had to do a test. But Mercury was retrograding at the time. I had to wait a couple of weeks for the test to then find out the test hadn't worked and I had to go and redo it. So it's frustrating things like that where you're having to redo stuff that you've already done. Kind of annoying, but not the biggest of deals, okay? Now, if you are a Gemini or a Virgo rising, or sun or moon, I would say mainly the rising signs will feel this the most. Mercury is your ruling planet. You guys are not going to feel your tip-top 100% best when Mercury's retrograding. Although I will say Mercury in Leo, it doesn't mind being in Leo, okay? It's not like it's in Sagittarius or in Pisces. That energy feels worse. But, and I know this because I live with a Virgo rising, and my mum is a Virgo sun. When Mercury's retrograding, these people in my life are not okay. there's just an energy where you can feel off, and I guess until I'm not a Virgo or a Gemini rising, I don't physically know how it feels, but I can tell you that when Mercury's retrograding, people with Virgo or Gemini placements do not feel themselves. The energy feels off. You don't feel right. You don't feel tip-top. It could be that you're just feeling agitated. It could be that you're feeling down, low, tired, not yourself, okay? Don't worry, it only lasts a few weeks and you'll feel better when it's moving direct again. But I just have to kind of tell you that if you have those placements, you're not always feeling your best because you're being asked to go in, you're internalizing your thoughts. So it can be a time where you're feeling this internalization, or feeling a bit heavier. Mercury rules the lungs. I would encourage you to meditate, do breath work with the lungs, okay? If you're feeling, and also journaling is really, really good. Mercury rules writing, journaling, breath work. I would encourage that if you're feeling really not kind of good under this energy. Now, if you have anything, so Mercury is going to retrograde until the 10th of August and it's going to move back to 4 degrees, I believe, of Leo, staying in Leo. So if you have anything between, let me just double check that. Well, now that I've said that, I just want to check. If you have anything for, is it 4 or is it 2? Stationing at 4. Yeah, so anything between 4 degrees of Leo and, let me just move that back there. 4 degrees of Leo and 15 degrees of Leo. Then Mercury is going to be retrograding over your planet. So you are going to feel this anyway. And actually, if you have anything in Leo, this is going to be more relevant for you. Also, if you have anything in Scorpio, Aquarius or Taurus, this retrograde is going to square or oppose one of your personal planets. By sign, but especially if you have anything in those degrees, at some point it's going to square. or oppose. So this is going to be impacting you further. You'll feel this a bit more, and this will be happening in one of your angular houses, so you're just feeling it more relevant than not. So let me know if you have any planets in those signs. Now, Mercury, we've spoken enough about what Mercury says. Now, Mercury moves quite fast, so it's not the same as having, you know, an outer planet moving over your personal placements. Mercury moves so fast, even when it's going, by the time it's going backwards, once it picks up speed, it's going to be moving back. It moves around a degree a day. So let's just, for example, let's just skip this. So once it started going back, if you see, so 12, 11, 10, 9, 10, 10, 9. So can you see most days it's moving a degree? So it's a fast, even with the retrograde, it's fast. So it's not going to be the most groundbreaking, life-changing stuff. But it just may be that you're having to rethink something, or something is getting activated for you in your own personal chart. And now please do also remember that your personal charts will be more relevant than this collective thing that I'm talking about here. I am going to run through the houses, but it's always going to be more relevant for you when you're looking at, okay, is Mercury retrograde actually aspecting any of my planets or not? If it's not, it might not even really be that relevant in your life. It might just be, you might just kind of pass it by a little bit. Sorry, I have a cold if I sound like a man. So yeah, so we are going to run through the signs now. Also important to know that we are also coming up for a new moon in Leo. So your Leo house is getting very activated this month, and we are moving into Leo season. So this kind of makes things even more relevant. The sun's coming into Leo. We're going to have a new moon. So the new moon is going to be taking place, and I am going to do a separate video on the new moon. But I just wanted to mention the new moon is going to be taking place while Mercury is retrograding, and that's kind of playing into it. It's like you're rethinking something, and then this new beginning is going to unfold over the next 6 months, because the new moon will start and then it unfolds into the full moon in Leo over the next 6 months. So something new is brewing in the Leo section of your chart, definitely. Listen for your rising sign, as this will be the most literal, talking about the houses, but then listen for your sun and your moon as well, as they may also be relevant. And then you can kind of put everything together as kind of a little story for yourself. So we will start with Aries, and we will move around to Pisces. Don't forget I do readings, guys, and don't forget to subscribe and drop a like and a comment if you get some value from this. Aries and Aries rising. Mercury is retrograding in Leo in your 5th house. So you could be rethinking what it is that you do for fun and going back or connecting with your inner child in some way. The things that I mentioned in the intro could be very relevant for you. So it could be that you're going back to a hobby or a habit or something that you used to enjoy. So did you used to play poker? Did you used to go horse riding? Did you used to do painting or play basketball? Anything that you did, you could be going back to that. Or it could be that you are rethinking what it is that you do for fun. You know, do I have enough fun? How do I express myself? It could be that you're going back to a creative project and you're having to rework something that you're doing creatively, especially because Mercury does rule your 6th house of work. So you could be rethinking or reworking a project that you've been working on and thinking, right, I'm having to redo this, I'm having to redo this. Perhaps some of your schedules are changing. Perhaps the way that you are you like your errands and like how you get to work and stuff, those kind of things could be changing, but it's really connected to your enjoyment. So it could be that you're rethinking your work because you're rethinking what it is that what's important to you, what is heartfelt to you, and you're wanting to kind of do a job or connect from the heart rather than just doing something for the sake of it. So you're really rethinking, okay, how do I express myself? How do I express myself with people? How do I express myself in the workplace? How can I have fun, and how can I connect with my inner child? You might be one of the signs that, yes, you might hear from an old flame, an old ex, because this is the 5th house of romance. You could be having some difficult conversations with romantic partners or some misunderstandings, so just watch out for that, especially because Mercury does rule your house of communication. It could be that you're having a text from an old flame, or you are, hearing from them on social media. 5th house is also connected to, could also be, by the way, that you're you're rethinking your love life. As in, you know, do I like this person? Do they like me? Do I really want this relationship? That could come up for some of you. If you're not hearing from an ex, it's like if you're in a relationship right now, you could be rethinking the relationship that you're in. But it's connected to how you communicate, and also whether it's maybe good for you, whether it's good for your health, whether it aligns with what you're trying to achieve. Fifth house is connected to children, so yes, connecting to your inner child and things for fun, but topics of children could be coming up, conversations about children coming up, rethinking for some of you, do I want children? What's happening with my children? Themes to do with your health, for example, if you're pregnant, you're having to go and have appointments to do with the pregnancy, you're rethinking or reworking, or something's happening with your health and with the body to do with the baby. Nothing necessarily bad, it's just you're having to rework something. Maybe if you had an appointment, it gets rescheduled, something like that. If you have children, then they are maybe you're having to work a little bit harder at communicating with them, or you're having to work through something with a child, I would say. Maybe their behavior is a little bit difficult at the moment, you're having to kind of have those extra conversations with them, bearing in mind that Leo is about the heart, so make sure that you're kind of listening to their needs, and you're leading and you're listening to your intuition, and you're leading from a heart space of love. But just themes to do with your children can come up. So just to summarize, this is for you about your love life, how you communicate, what you do for fun, maybe going back to have fun, and then topics to do with children, and also creative projects can come up as well. So you'll have to let me know, Aries, how this retrograde goes for you, and I will see you in the next video. Taurus and Taurus rising, Mercury is retrograding in your 4th house. This is your home, your family, your roots, your foundation. This is your emotions as well, how you're feeling on an inner level, what you're creating behind the scenes. So Mercury retrograding here is you're rethinking or you're reworking something about the home. It could be that you're making readjustments in the home, maybe to do with money. So maybe you're sorting out bills, maybe you're sorting out, who lives there, who pays this, kind of doing those kind of organisational things within the home, but it's connected to money. And it's also connected to maybe topics of children or your own business. So it could be that you are changing the amount of time that you're spending at home, changing the amount of hours you're spending at home, the amount of hours you're spending on your business, and maybe it's got something to do with a job, or how you work, how much time you're spending in the office, how much time you're spending at home. Those kind of themes can come up. It could also be themes to do with family members, hearing from and connecting with old family members during this time, definitely, especially maybe for fun. Meeting up with, having a jolly, having a get-together, having a birthday party with old family members, and hearing from those old family members, or hearing about them. A lot of the time, if you're not seeing people from the past, or hearing about people from the past, could be looking through old photos. There could be a topic to do with children coming up, so because Mercury rules your 5th house of children, so you're rethinking, or you're having to redo or rework an idea of children, or topics of children are relevant in some way, having to have those conversations, reworking. Maybe you're rearranging your house to accommodate children. That's possible for some of you, or you're just even talking about, okay, well, if we were to have a child, which bedroom would they sleep in? All of that kind of stuff can come up with the Mercury retrograde, and it can also tie in, money. Okay, well, I'm going to be getting a new job, and I want to be spending more money on this, or I'm spending money on, a new carpet, or, all of that kind of redecorating. It is in the sign of Leo, so this is about getting creative within the home. What kind of creative ideas can you have? Some of you might be rethinking your living situation quite literally. Do I want to live here? Do I want to live somewhere else? What are my values when it comes to my home? What do I value? What's important? And all of those themes can come up. Diving into your ancestry is possible. Ancestry.com, all of that stuff, it can also be relevant. And maybe healing some things from your inner child, from when you were a child as well. Especially as, you guys have got Saturn and Neptune in the 12th house, which is about your mental health and connection to spirituality and healing. And so Mercury retrograding the 4th can be, what patterns what karmic patterns have affected me as an adult from when I was a child. You know, how did my parents bringing me up affect my patterns, and how was my inner child affected? And you can just kind of, for some of you, that may be relevant in some way. Do I want to say anything about that? Mainly it's just going to be you're rethinking something about your living situation or your home, and you just may feel like you're having conversations maybe with a partner, romantic partner. Do we want to live here? Do we want to live somewhere else? You're rethinking and rearranging stuff. So you'll have to let me know how it goes, Taurus, and I will see you in the next video. Gemini and Gemini rising, this is important for you because Mercury rules you. I hope you guys are okay. Mercury is retrograding in your third house as well, which is the house of the mind. It's the natural Gemini house. So very relevant for you in terms of your thoughts, your thinking, your mindset. Rethinking how you think. Can be difficulties with communication, can be difficulties with, like if you're learning something, you're having to redo it. So you're having to redo emails, you're having to reread something, you're having to if you're a writer, you're having to go over paperwork and kind of, you know, academic stuff. You're having to redo stuff, creative projects, all of that can kind of come up. Maybe you are rethinking your neighborhood and where you live, because Mercury rules your fourth house of the home and family, and it rules you and your life direction. Rethinking your neighborhood. There's also going to be elements of rethinking, like I said, how you communicate, and it can be a sense of, am I being dramatic? Leo can be very dramatic. Am I communicating in a healthy way, or am I communicating in a dramatic way? Am I coming from my ego rather than from a place of authenticity? Did I say that word? Authenticity. Connecting with siblings or cousins or relatives. Hearing about siblings, cousins, relatives from the past. Having more connections with relatives and siblings. You may have to redo something about travel. So it could be that you're having to fix the car. Could be that the trains, the buses, all of that gets cancelled or delayed. Issues and just annoying things happening with transport can be happening for you with Mercury retrograding in your third. But because this is the sign of Leo, you know, this is connected to what you are getting creative on and rethinking. What am I creating, and what am I reading? So it could be like, okay, I don't like these books anymore. I'm going to go back to reading an old genre that I really enjoyed. Or if you write a blog, okay, well, I'm going to go back to writing in this kind of style. I'm going to go back to, you know, getting back on social media, or I'm rethinking my social media, that kind of stuff. Third house is like a real chock-a-block. All sorts of stuff can end up in the third house. But mainly the themes are transportation, anything media related, writing, newspapers, television, learning, anything to do with your mind. So it can be that you're actually rethinking what's important to you, you're rethinking about how you have fun, you're rethinking about what you want to do for fun, and it's kind of thought-based. Traveling back to old neighborhoods, that's also possible. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. And obviously it's going to be more relevant if you do have planets in those degrees of Leo. So let me know, Gemini, even conversations about where you live can also be possible because of the connection to your fourth house. Rethinking its conversations about your living situation. So just make sure that when you're communicating about these things, whether it be with a family member or a partner, you're having that topic of that conversation of, okay, are we speaking about this in a mature way? Because of the element of Leo can be a little bit immature. So just watch out for that. But you're kind of reworking something about all of the things I just mentioned. I think I'm rabbiting on now. But let me know, Gemini, your thoughts on this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cancer and Cancer rising. So you guys are having Mercury retrograding in your second house. This is your finances, your values, your self-worth. So there can be an element of, okay, how am I earning money? Where's my money coming from? Mercury rules your 12th house of things behind the scenes and also limiting beliefs. And it also rules your third house of kind of social media, connection, communication, travel. So retrograding the second, it's like, first of all, sorting out money issues, money coming back to you, that's possible. Wanting to reorder your finances, or you're rethinking about where your money is coming from, and you're rethinking about what is actually important to you and heartfelt when it comes to your money. Do I really want to be doing this? Am I really passionate about this? Is this way that I earn money bringing me joy? Is this way that I earn money fun? How can I connect to my inner child and have more fun when I'm making money? Working on your limiting beliefs around money, so working on your money mindset, definitely possible. So it's, doing money affirmations, doing money meditations, working on your mindset and releasing limiting beliefs when it comes to your finances, and asking yourself, okay, am I charging enough? Am I charging my worth? Am I charging too much? But really, this is about heartfelt and heart-led. What's the word I want to use? Heartfelt and heart-led projects, and rethinking, okay, is this work coming from my heart? And you may just find yourself rethinking that. And also rethinking your values. What's important to me? Are possessions important to me? Are they not? How much of this is important? And just this whole rethinking around what's important to you, what do you value, is going to be relevant. With the tie to social media, again, you're rethinking, especially if you have your own business, maybe you work on social media, you're rethinking, okay, which platform do I want to work on? Which platform am I passionate about? And there's this element of the social media stuff and the money, and maybe money coming to you from those platforms, but also, do I really want to be earning money from, all of these things? And there's just this internal rethinking, reassessment of your finances. And generally, this is about your money, Cancer. You could also be rethinking your neighborhood and your social connections as well. Who's important to me? The 12th house is hidden enemies. And I just think when we're talking about our values, there can be a sense of hidden enemies coming out of the woodwork, because there's connection to your social house here and hidden enemy house here, and then you're rethinking your values. It's like, okay, are these people important to me? Are my social connections on my side, or are people working against me? That is kind of possible. Do I want to be spending money? How am I spending money on my spiritual health, on my mental health, and reassessing that as well? Maybe spending money and going to a spa, going to a retreat, and just reevaluating, am I doing enough for my spiritual growth? And maybe going back and spending money on something that you spent money on before to do with your spiritual growth. Hope that makes sense. So let me know, Cancers, your thoughts on this retrograde, and I'll see you in the next video. Leo and Leo rising. This Mercury retrograde in Leo, is all about you guys. You are going to be feeling this because this is in your sign. This is about you, everything to do with you, your life direction, your life experience, how you're experiencing the world. This is also your health, because this is connected to your physical body. Mercury rules your second house of finances, but it also rules your 11th house of your friendships, your connections, and your goals for the future. So you're going to be rethinking what's important to you, rethinking how you spend your time, rethinking which friends are aligned with you, and actually how you're giving time to your friends and how you're spending time with your friends. And you may hear from friends from the past, you may be meeting up with friends from the past, that's very likely. People that you've not seen for a while, meeting up with them during the retrograde. You could be rethinking something about your financial situation, how you earn money. And again, it's like your self-worth, rethinking your self-worth. What's important to me? Be careful of being overly dramatic. So Mercury retrograding in your sign, you can kind of internalize this energy a bit, and you may be just try not to come from your ego and your pride, which you do have a tendency to do. Try and lead from a place of your authentic self, and say to yourself, is this coming from pride, or is this coming from a place of authenticity? And really be asking yourself that anytime you want to have a dramatic outburst. Ask yourself where it's coming from. Okay, you may be really rethinking things to do with your appearance. So it could be that you want to change your hair, your values around clothes, or how you're showing up, your style. You're rethinking your style during this time. Leo is a very creative sign, so you could be kind of thinking, yeah, I want to try something different. You could feel a little bit anxious. Mercury in the first house can be a little bit kind of, our thoughts are going like the clappers, shall we say, with Mercury in the first house, and you're internalizing this. So there can be a lot of inward thinking during this time. Perfectly normal. You could also be rethinking your goals for the future. What do I want to achieve? What's important to me? What am I passionate about? And it can have something to do with children, potentially, or not. It can just be goals in general, future goals in general, but there might be an internal thinking around a lot of thinking about your future and how you're going to move forward and what you're going to move forward. And you might just find yourself pondering and reflecting a lot during this time. So let me know, Leos, your thoughts on this retrograde, and I will see you in the next video. Virgo and Virgo rising. So you are experiencing this Mercury retrograde in your 12th house. Now, this is important for you, Virgos, because Mercury rules you. My partner's a Virgo rising, and I'm going to run for the hills during this retrograde because I always do. If you're not feeling okay, then just know it's only a few weeks. Okay, it's not long. But Mercury retrograding in the 12th is quite a lot to do with your healing. Okay, how are you healing? This is your mental health. This is the house of self-sabotage and self-undoing. So what bad habits do you have, Virgo? What are your bad habits? You're rethinking your habits. Okay, and it can be that you are rethinking, okay, maybe I shouldn't drink as much, maybe I shouldn't smoke as much. You know, you can be rethinking your habits because Mercury rules you in your life direction. You can be just thinking about your healing in some way. What have you been through so far this year with the South Node in your sign? A lot of Virgos have had some change. So there's this internal process of, okay, where am I going from here? How am I self-sabotaging? How can I get out of this? This is your mental health house. So it can feel a bit uncomfortable with planets here and Mercury retrograding here. The way to use this is to meditate, to journal, and to do breath work. This is a really good placement where you're going to like a spa or a retreat or a place of energy healing. Maybe you're going back to a Reiki practitioner or some sort of spiritual healer. That would be a really good use of this energy, going back to somebody that you've worked with before. Could also be rethinking your career or your public status, but it's very much behind the scenes. This is the house that we don't really see. It's the subconscious, it's the private, quiet places. But Mercury rules your 10th house of career, so it could be that you're rethinking your career in solitude. You're thinking, do I really want this? Maybe you're rethinking your place in the world. You're rethinking your bad habits when it comes to how you're seen. You know, what do people perceive me as, and actually how can I change any habits or anything that's kind of affecting anything that's maybe affecting my public image. How can I change that? And there can be this kind of internal, behind the scenes reflection. Now, the 12th house is also our subconscious, so it might not be that you're aware of this, but your subconscious could be reprogramming in some way. So this is a really good time to be doing meditation and affirmations in order to reprogram your subconscious, okay? If you're feeling a bit off, then you can blame the retrograde, but like I said, it's only a few weeks. So let me know, Virgos, your thoughts on this, and I'll see you in the next video. Libra and Libra rising, Mercury is retrograding in your 11th house. This is your goals for the future. This is humanitarian projects. This is also the house of the collective. Large organizations, groups of people. This is your friendships, who you associate yourself with in a group setting. So having Mercury retrograding here is, some of you will be rethinking your friendship groups. You know, do these people align with me? Do I want to spend time with these people? Or it could just be that you're actually seeing friends that you've not seen for ages. You're seeing people from the past, you're hearing about friends from the past, you're meeting up with people from the past. Mercury rules your 12th house, so it can be that you're meeting up with a spiritual group or spiritual people or people that have influenced you spiritually, or people from far away. Hidden enemies can come out. You know, maybe you're having conversations with friends and you're hearing about somebody that actually is not really a friend and they're against you. That's possible. It can all be a bit dramatic with Mercury retrograding in Leo. It can be that you're rethinking the groups that you're a part of, like I said. So this isn't just friendships. This is, okay, If you're a member of, a gym, do I want to be a member of this gym anymore? If you're a member of, a reading group, do I want to be a member of this group anymore? That kind of stuff. Mercury also rules your ninth house of your beliefs, travel, higher education. So it could be that you are going back to a study group, or you're meeting up with people that you met when you met them abroad. People from abroad, you can be reconnecting with those kind of people. Or you're rethinking your goals for the future based on your current beliefs. So whatever your beliefs are, you're kind of learning, growing, evolving, but you're rethinking your goals for the future based on that, based on your current belief system. Where am I headed? Where am I going? How am I going to get there? What am I creating? This is also the house of, the internet, actually. So if you work on the internet, there's a rethinking. Okay, how am I showing up? How am I getting creative? Maybe I need to tweak my my social media posts for the internet, for YouTube, whatever it is. And actually the ninth house can be connected to broadcasting as well. So there's this element of, if you're out broadcasting on the internet, you're rethinking what it is that you're posting. You're tweaking some stuff, trying to think about, okay, what fills me with joy when I'm posting, when I'm creating for the collective. If you don't work on the internet, maybe you just work for a large organization, and you're having a rethinking process around that, or you're having to reduce that, or you're having to have conversations with the people that you work with, or the people that you influence in some way. It's going to be different for everyone, but mainly it's like hearing from people from the past, having to redo something, having to rethink our goals. Could also be like if you work with a charity or something, maybe you're collecting money, or you're going back to do some sort of humanitarian or charity work or project during this time as well. So Libra, let me know your thoughts on this transit. I hope it's an okay retrograde for you, and I will see you in the next one. Scorpio and Scorpio rising. So Mercury is retrograding in your 10th house of career. This is an angular house, which means it's quite important for you because it's a stronger house, should we say, and it squares you. So this just means that you're going to feel it a little bit more than some of the other signs. The 10th house is the house of career. So you may be rethinking what you do for work, how you're known, your public image. How can I be seen? How can I, what am I creating out for the world to see, and how can I change this? If you're on your own business, it could be that you are rethinking, okay, well, how do I change my Instagram videos so that more people see me? Or maybe you're putting a different project out into the abyss kind of thing. Especially if it's like things that you earn money from, because Mercury rules your joint finances, which is this house here, but it also rules your 11th house of the internet. So it is very much like a how am I being seen? How can I make money from the work that I'm doing? And you're just rethinking your public image in some way. It could be that you're wanting to change your brand. Could be that you're wanting to change your social media accounts, which ones you post on. All of that stuff can kind of come up. Especially if you do kind of any like healing work, that would be really relevant as well, because Mercury rules the 8th house. Now, for some of you, it could just be you're having to redo a project at work. You're rethinking whether you want this career. You're going back to, maybe you're hearing from old bosses. That's also possible. The 10th house is connected to our authority figures, including our parents. So themes to do with parents can come up, or authority figures, like kind of hearing from police and banks and institutes. All of that stuff can occasionally show up in the 10th house. And I want to say, for some of you, this is going to be about, because it's connected to your public image, do I want to be seen as a CEO? Do I want to be seen as a business owner? Do I want to be seen as married? Do I want to be seen as single? All of this public image stuff there's this rethinking and reworking around how you're seen. But because it's in Leo, a lot of it is about what am I creating? What am I putting out there for people to see? Because you guys have Leo on the 10th, you don't really like being seen, you're a Scorpio, but you can't help it because you've got Leo out here. So it is a case of, oh God, okay, I don't really want to be out there, but I am being seen. So actually, how can I tweak these things? And it's interesting that you've now got Saturn and Neptune in your 6th house. So this is putting some maybe a bit of strain with Saturn in your 6th on your work and your schedules. And so that could be linked to the retrograde process. Okay, well, for example, this job isn't working, so you're having a rethink around it in some ways. It is going to be different for everyone, so you'll have to let me know what's going on, Scorpio. And I hope it's a good retrograde for you. They can be very, very useful. So just see how it goes. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. You are doing the Mercury retrograde in your 9th house. Excuse me, sorry, I have a cold. Just had a drink. Sorry if I sound strained. Okay, so the 9th house is about our higher mind, our worldview. It's the bigger picture. It's really, really connected to our faith, what we believe in, our spiritual faith, our religious faith. It's what we're learning. It's the information we're taking on from a higher point. It's also the house of travel and legal matters. So, randomly we'll just, chuck legal matters in there. So rethinking something here, Sagittarius. Maybe there's a rethinking going on for you around your beliefs. What do I believe in? How have my beliefs changed? It could have a connection to your beliefs about romance and your partner, because Mercury rules your 7th house, and your public image and reputation. So for some of you, this is going to be the case of, okay, well, we need to get things rolling if we want to have a divorce. We need to get things rolling if we want to get married. It's tying in partnerships and legal matters and your public image. So definitely this for some of you is going to be about marriage, divorce, or just legal matters with another person. It could be legal matters to do with a house. It could be legal matters to do with a business. But you're having to rethink, you're maybe having to connect with lawyers and things and solicitors, things like that during this retrograde process. For others, this is going to be that you're traveling to somewhere you've traveled to before with a partner. You are rethinking maybe a course or a project or a teaching, something, you're rethinking something you're publishing. So the 9th house is publishing and broadcasting. So whether you are somebody that's a writer, whether you are somebody that does like YouTube and videos and things like kind of broadcasting your work online, or if you're a teacher, you're having to redo something here. So you're having to rework a project, especially if it's connected to your career. So for example, if you work on YouTube, maybe you're having to go back and finalize the details and work out how you can put, different tags on your videos, and things like that can happen with the Mercury retrograde. Because it's in the sign of Leo, which is about creativity. What am I creating? What am I putting out into the world? And you're rethinking that. But for a lot of you, I think this is going to be about your beliefs, your belief systems, and how you can have faith around moving forward. I just feel like a lot of you, this is partner stuff, or stuff to do with important people in your life, and therefore you're rethinking, your beliefs. I think the postman's coming in my garden. Sorry, knocked on the door and I didn't answer. So now, he's going in my neighbour's garden. Sorry, you can see everything from here. I'm like, why is there a man's head? So basically this is, for a lot of you, it's about having faith, or you're rethinking, okay, what are my beliefs now? Maybe you've had a big change and you're thinking, okay, what are my beliefs? How am I moving forward? And you're just kind of having those internal conversations with yourself. So you'll have to let me know how this is showing up for you, Sag. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, so Capricorn rising and Capricorns, you are doing this retrograde in your 8th house. This is a bit of a sensitive house for you, okay? Anything that happens in the 8th and the 12th, extra sensitive. So the 8th house is our psychology. It is the depths of our mind. It is where we go through cycles of rebirth and death and rebirth. So it's cycles of transformation. It's coaching. It's our own coaching. It's other people's coaching. It's working with other people. It's joint finances. It's alchemy. This is the house of alchemy. But Mercury here is connected to the mind. So we might be rethinking our own psychology. So it could be that you're thinking about your own behavior. You're thinking about, why do I behave like this? Why do I feel like this? Why do I show up like this? And there's this kind of internal dialogue of wondering why you are the way that you are. because the 8th house is deep. It's the house of secrets. So there can be some secrets going on here, things stirring in your mind, connected to a partner maybe because it's Leo, to do with the lovers. But Mercury rules your 9th house of legal matters and your beliefs, but it also rules your 6th house of work, health, healthy habits. So maybe you're rethinking something around how your mind is affecting your health, how your thoughts are affecting your health, how intimacy, there's connections between intimacy here, because the 8th house is the step on from our house of partnerships. This is where we get very intimate. So you're rethinking intimate connections here. So there can be themes to do with you and a partner. Are we intimate enough? Are we, what can we change anything here? Maybe you're having intimate conversations with a partner. Maybe you're having intimate conversations with work colleagues or with teachers or people that can help you. Maybe you're seeking a therapist. This would be a really good time to seek a therapist. Mercury retrograding in the 8th house, especially if you've worked with somebody before. This is also the house of shared resources. So it can be, especially because Mercury rules your house of legal matters, coming into some money to do with maybe insurance or claiming on insurance or taxes or things like that. Money can come back to you, but it can also be that you're rethinking your joint finances. If you have a joint account, maybe you're rethinking, actually, I don't want that joint account anymore, and you're thinking about closing it. This is also the house of investments. So rethinking any money that you've invested could be important. Maybe you're thinking of getting some kind of insurance policy drawn up for your investments. That's also possible. I want to say for some of you, there is a connection here between like your health and your mental health, because Mercury rules your 6th house. So it's like there is just this element of okay, my thought processes are not healthy for me, and that's going to be relevant for some of you, and that's going to be coming up for some of you. Like I said, secrets coming up, intimate conversations. You can feel a bit uncomfortable with this energy because it's the 8th house. But for some of you, this will just be financial, and it can just be money coming back to you, or you're reorganizing your joint finances in some way. This is the house connected to divination and so tarot and crystals and anything, psychics and mediums, ghosts. All those darker topics come under the 8th house. So there can be an interest in those topics, or it can be that you're going back to see a tarot reader that you've seen before, connecting with somebody that has helped you in a magic sense in some way is possible during the retrograde. So let me know, Capricorn, if that resonates, if that makes sense, and I'll see you in the next video. Aquarius and Aquarius rising, you are seeing Mercury retrograding in your 7th house of one-on-one relationships. So this is a rethinking around your relationships. You can hear from people from the past, lovers from the past. It can come up even just in conversation. You're hearing of old romantic relationships in some way. People might tell you what they've seen, or they've seen your ex. All of that stuff can kind of come up, or you can physically hear from someone from the past. Relationships now, you may be rethinking them, or you're maybe having to work through something with a partner. Be careful with the miscommunication, and there can be some dramatic flare-ups during this time. So you do tend to attract the Leo energy. This is the people that you're attracted to, people that are independent, people that are assertive. But the Leos do come with their drama. So if you have a partner with these qualities, just know that actually there can be some kind of dramatic themes coming up. Just make sure that you're trying to communicate effectively. Now, this is business partnerships. This is any one-on-one relationships. Excuse me. So it can be relationships with your children. So having the themes coming up from the past with your children. Having to sort stuff out with a child is possible. Changes with children, because Uranus is here, so maybe having to sort something out with a child, because children do come under your one-on-one relationships. In topics of intimacy, because Mercury rules your 8th house, so there's topics of intimacy coming up, topics of joint financing. Can you hear me? Whoops. Yes, so topics of intimacy, topics of joint finances, and having to work stuff out with a partner is definitely possible. So it could just be that you guys are paying off some debts, you are, going on dates or reconnecting and doing fun things that you've not done for a while, and you're kind of rethinking how can we get back to having fun and dating, and those kind of topics can come back up. You're reworking something with partnerships during this time. You're reworking. I wouldn't sign any contracts during this time because Mercury's retrograding unless you've read it, head to toe with a fine tooth comb. But you can go back to contracts that you already have and review them in some way. Contracts and agreements, you can review these under this time. Okay, so I hope that is helpful, Aquarius, and I'll see you in the next video. Pisces, exactly on 1 hour you guys are. So Sun, Moon and Rising. So Mercury is retrograding in your 6th house. This is your health. This is your work. This is your routines, your pets. So Mercury retrograding here can be a bit annoying, actually. I find Mercury retrograding in the 6th can be annoying when it comes to like healthcare things. So if you're somebody that's like having to have a doctor's appointment, you can just find that you're getting frustrated with appointments being cancelled, or you're having to redo tests. All of that stuff can come up. But Mercury is connected to your 7th house of partnerships and your 4th house of family and your health. So you are maybe having to review your health because of something to do with a partner or something to do with a family matter. You are revisiting your what do you put into your body? What do you eat? How do you exercise? What are your routines? How are you looking after your health? And you're rethinking all of this. But it's connected to your partner. Maybe your partner's wanting you to become more healthy, or maybe a family member, or topics to do with the home. Something's happening in your home, and therefore you're having to reevaluate your health. Do I look after myself? Am I, especially when it comes to topics of children, am I looking after my health if I want to have a child? That kind of stuff can come up with it being in Leo. For some of you, this is going to be about work. What do I do? Am I enjoying my work? Which parts of my work am I enjoying? And you may have to, you may be rethinking your work and rethinking what you find fun at work. You may be rethinking where you live in terms of, okay, well, if I wanted to move somewhere, now that Uranus is in your 4th, if I wanted to move somewhere, what work would I do? So therefore you're rethinking, okay, maybe you're looking for new jobs in a different location because you're thinking about moving. That could just be the case for some of you. Things to do with pets. So it could be things from the past coming back. If your pet used to have fleas, maybe they're having fleas again, or maybe you're having to revisit the vet from an old problem. All of that kind of stuff can come up. Maybe you're rethinking, oh, actually we were going to get a dog but now we're not, or going back to, actually yes, we will get a dog. So there's the kind of topics and conversations, because it's Mercury, with your partner about pets can come up. What else do I want to say about that? But really this is like your routines and your schedules. Rethinking them. Is this job what I want? Do these schedules and routines make me happy? Am I leading from a place of love? And any kind of health matters, you're having to redo them, or you're having to maybe do things that you've already done, which can be a bit frustrating, like I said. But there's focus here on your health. So make sure that you are kind of looking after yourself and just paying attention to any niggles or things that are kind of showing up in the body during this time. So that is all I have for you, Pisces. I hope that was helpful. If you got value from this, please give the video a thumbs up and drop a comment. Don't forget I do readings, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we don't miss each other in the future of the abyss of YouTube. I hope you got value from this. Thank you so much for watching. I will be here again in a couple of days with the new moon video in Leo, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.